he had to get over his aversion to shaking hands when he ran for president the first time. He didn't used to do that. Yeah, that you don't see that very usually from Donald Trump. So that's awesome. That's a great shot. Um, you know, this, and I think this is the picture that President Trump really wants China to see. Get a good look at this, President Xi, because this is the kind of partnership and friendship and easy communication that these two men have, and that should make everyone else who are enemies of the United States and enemies of India take a big pause. Check this picture out very closely. I'm so glad you put it up because this is important. And, I blame the United States for the last 20 years for not cultivating a strong enough relationship with India. Before that, I think it was India's fault mostly. But you know what? Both of those things are in our rearview mirror. That's gone. And we have important things to talk about. I agree with your last guest. We shouldn't focus too much on the tariff discussion because there are economic differences. There's always economic differences between one country and the next, even the best of friends. But I don't think President Trump is using tariffs for economic reasons. He's using tariffs, which are an economic tool, to give us a political result. And what I think he wants to do by having India come to the United States and start to ask about what it can do to reduce tariffs or any kind of issue between the United States and India economically, that will strengthen our political bond because that will prove that we're willing to cooperate on money, which is a pretty big deal. So I think this is a political goal more than an economic goal. And that is why the H-1B visa situation, I don't think is going to change all that much, especially if Donald Trump delivers to his base strong numbers on other economic problems. If he's able to give the American people good numbers on these deportations of the dangerous criminal illegal immigrants that I was telling you about before, they're not going to be so angry anymore about H-1B visas because that's the first priority. These criminals, the violence, the migrants on the streets. That's not the H-1B visa issue. And Americans will be less concerned about that if we get rid of this bigger problem first.
Okay, but I'm looking at that picture and it's right here on NDTV. A word on this, personal chemistry that we are seeing, Jake Novak. What a shot here.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that obviously Donald Trump considers personal relationships and his ability to pick up a phone and talk to someone much more important than some of the policy issues on paper. I guess this is something that had to do with his years as a businessman and cultivating personal relationships. But for whatever reason, again, this is why it's such an important picture because Donald Trump doesn't hug people in public. I mean, I can't think of too many times when I've ever seen that other than maybe his children. This is a really big deal. He doesn't really like to touch people all that much. He kind of had to get over that with the handshaking. So this is a major message. This is absolutely choreographed. I don't think it's phony. I'm not saying it's phony. What I'm saying is they made sure to do this in front of the cameras so that everyone could see it, especially China. And again, it was a little bit about what I was saying much earlier, which is I think that Prime Minister Modi's election was the beginning of a global movement towards what eventually led to President Trump a couple of years later and will lead to some other elections in other countries like Javier Milei in Argentina. I think that this is part of a movement, and in many ways, this started with you in India with the election of Narendra Modi. This is, to me, that was the real beginning of this movement. And maybe Donald Trump is more than just hugging him. He's hugging that trend in this picture more than anything else. But